Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is, I think, the third or fourth in our series of webinars concerning our transition to Canvas as the campus learning management system. And today we want to look at um, possible ways you may want to go about rebuilding your course. Of course, this isn't going to be a training session. We do have a workshop completely dedicated to creating and managing content in Canvas, but it's just be an overview of the kinds of things that you're going to find in your Canvas course space, the tools and the opportunities that will be available to you there for constructing a new course space, probably a bit different than you had constructed it in Blackboard, but try to point out some points of commonality between what you've experienced in Blackboard and show you how things are a little bit different here in Canvas. First of all, before we get started, by show of clicking on the plus sign, how many of you have been notified that your Blackboard content has been migrated? Have any of you received an email notification indicating that you now have content waiting for you on Canvas having been migrated from Blackboard? Okay, and then I guess maybe we will assume that if you haven't received that notification, you may be approaching Canvas brand new, having not really experienced anything in Blackboard, or perhaps you have been supporting faculty who have had content migrated, and perhaps you'll be joining them there to help them with the rebuild process. One other question for you, how many of you have gone into Canvas to check it out independently at this point? Again, if you would give us a check mark, that'd be helpful. All right, so a couple of intrepid campers here. So for many of you, this may be a first opportunity to take a look at Canvas. So let's take a look at what I hope we're able to accomplish today. My name is Deb Maddock, and I'm one of the instructional support folks here in Learning Technologies. And we've been working with Canvas now since July, supporting a small cohort of pilot faculty, about 70 courses during the fall, and learning something new every day about the learning management system. And so I hope to be able to share some of what we have learned about constructing courses in Canvas with you. So our objectives for today, for those of you who have been informed that you've had content migrated to Canvas, want to make sure you know where it is, because you will need to understand how you will then link it into its associate course space so that you can make it visible and available to your students. We're also going to discuss the options that you have for making content available in terms of content such as files and providing a means of students to get to other kinds of resources. There are two methodologies in Canvas, modules and pages, and we'll take a look at what those actually are. You'll also be shown that there is a relationship between the construction of assignments, the syllabus, a calendar, and a gradebook in Canvas, and we'll take a look at how those relationships come together as you start to construct your course. And then with time allowing, we'll also explore some of the layout options you have for your course homepage. So what I'd like to do is share my desktop and take you into a sample course space, and we'll start to explore Canvas together. Okay, so here we are. This is what one way a Canvas homepage might look when we are in a particular course. And we will actually end today's session by talking about how you can change the look of this initial homepage layout. But in order to understand the options, we need to understand the other parts of constructing a course space. So my best guess is if you are dealing with migrated content, you're going to want to know where your files have ended up as they've been moved from Blackboard to Canvas. And so the first thing we're going to explore is the Files area in your Canvas course space. Each Canvas course space has a files area. And in the course navigation menu over on the left, we're able to enter that files area. And the files area is truly a file repository. Each course space has its own files area. And the files specific to that course space will be placed there. And if you have had content migrated from a Blackboard course space, you will have a file folder called Course Files from Blackboard. And all of the content associated with the term-based course space that has been migrated from Blackboard will be in that folder. Now, I have just a small amount here, and we would assume that I had a little course perhaps over on Blackboard. And all of the content, the PowerPoints, the Word documents, PDFs, any kind of file that you had associated with your Blackboard course space, whether it was a file you uploaded directly into the course space or whether it was a file you uploaded into the content collection folder associated with that course, will have been migrated over and be in this file folder. You'll also see that I have several other files here, and that is just to point out to you that, the content that has been migrated is just your starting point. If you find that there are other files or into a page or module, we'll look at that shortly, but with the understanding that no matter where you are in your course space, if you go through the process of uploading a file from your local computer, a copy of it is put into this files area, so it is always available to you. And you'll notice over here, we have the ability to add or upload single files. It is also possible if you have a folder of content on your local computer and you've already organized additional content to bring up into your course space, you can create a zipped version, like a little zip file of that folder, and then use the tool here to import the zip file, and all of the files will upload, maintaining their structure and the folder name. So it's quite easy to get content into Canvas. One other really nice feature about Canvas is that if you are using Firefox, Safari, or Chrome, you can also drag and drop files from your desktop right into this area. And I'm going to go ahead and just drag a file from my desktop, and I'm told here that the file is uploading, and after a short period of time, the file will just be available to me right here. Very easy to manipulate content, to get the content into the files area so that you can then make it available to your students. So let's just stop there for a second and let me ask if anyone has any questions about just that process. Obviously, these are things that we can talk about in much more detail in a training session. And again, we do have training on creating and managing content where we go through exercises to talk about more specifics in the files area. But does anybody have any questions about how their content was moved from Blackboard to Canvas? And if you do have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand. I'll give you just a second to think about that. And if not, I'll go. Okay, Bowden, you have a question. I'm going to go ahead and release my talk, and then you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I'm looking at my course, and I don't see any files moved.
Okay, so you're saying when you log into Canvas and you pull down the course menu, do you see course spaces there? And are they 2011 or 2012 term course spaces? Those are the ones that we moved.
I was looking at the 2013. Should I be looking at 2012?
That is correct. Your 2013 spaces are empty shells or empty canvases, if you will, that you can rebuild. The idea was that the term-based course spaces that actually house the content on Blackboard were moved over, and they are serving as master course spaces on Canvas. And you can do some of your course rebuilding in one of those spaces and then import the reconstructed course into that empty 2013 course shell. So that's why it will be empty. The 2013 winter or spring term spaces are empty, and your content is associated with the term-based course spaces that were actually moved.
Okay, I looked at 2012 and there's files there. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and I have a question from John Leacox, and he says, where are your course quiz files? The quiz files would be moved and found under the quizzes menu item. So they're not preloaded in assignments. They're going to be just sitting there under quizzes. And actually, under assignments, you would see them as sort of unassigned quizzes. In Canvas, quizzes are considered to be one kind of assignment, and you'll need to plug them back into your course space, John. And we'll talk a little bit more about assignments in a few minutes. Are there any other questions on files? And then we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of the options we have for presenting content to your students. One form of presenting content to students is in the form of a module. And let me just show you on the navigation menu here in my course space what modules look like. Modules are quite bare bones. They're sort of a skeletal view of the different kinds of content you might want to present to your student. And they can be organized by unit or by week or by topic. This would be called a module here, getting started. We have the ability to create little subheaders and subdivide the kinds of content we want to make available to students. And then what we do in a module is to just link in content that is sitting in our files area in some logical way, in addition to perhaps links to external web resources, to quizzes that we may have set up with the quiz tool, sometimes perhaps even to an external tool like ShareStream or Aries, which is the course reserve tool, or if you've been a user of the Campus Pack blog and wiki tools, access to those tools would also be created from a module, in addition to assignments that we create with the assignment tool. So really what a module presentation of the course content is highly linear, highly structural, with very minimal explanatory text at this level. When we link in some things like an assignment, the assignment can have explanatory text associated with it. But if you were in the habit in Blackboard of using an item to describe the purpose of a file or something else that you were about to present to your students, that doesn't really convey, that model doesn't really convey into course modules. Modules are just very structured, linear presentations of your content. And one of the interesting values of this presentation of your content is that you can force students to go through the items in a module in a specific order, and you can preclude a student's ability to start a new module unless they have completed an item in the previous module. So you can really restrain what students are doing in the course space and limit how they're going through the content. To even to the point of saying, you cannot go on to this item unless the quiz that was introduced previous to that, you had received a certain score on that. It is selective release criteria. You remember in Blackboard we had the ability to do certain kinds of adaptive release criteria, in association with files or assignments or the release of information. And the same thing is true in modules. We can also release the content of a module based on date information, just as we were able to do in Blackboard. And so this is one way to start to reconstruct the content of your course, the content in terms of files and the content in terms of quizzes, discussion board items, assignments that you're going to make available to your students. Sort of a comparison or a different way of doing it, of presenting information to your students, of getting them into the content of your course, is through pages. And from my navigation menu here, I'm going to pretty much show you the same course, but set up as pages. When I go to pages, the first page that would be visible to me is anything that I have set up as the front page or the home page of the course. And again, we'll come back here. I want to show you a page that houses the content of one of those modules that we saw in the modules area. I'm going to go ahead and click on the page that I know contains that. And here you'll see that a page is a wiki page. It's an environment where I can provide graphs and text, as well as links to content, embed media information, and link to the assignments that I have set up in other parts of the course space. All of these links appeared in the Unit 1 Creating Effective Presentations module. But here I've been able to provide context for it, a little bit of text, and then just hang all of the links to the information off of this one page. And if you take a look at the Blackboard course space where this unit came from, you can see I have my learning objects right here. This was an item in Blackboard. And in order to get this text from Blackboard to here, because the text of an item does not get migrated over, only files. So if I want to come back here, I particularly like the way I said something in an item in Blackboard. I can come into my Blackboard space and go to that item and simply select the text and copy it. And then when I am in, there we go, our little security measure. Then when I'm in Canvas, I can edit whatever page I am developing and simply paste that content right here, which is how I got this information into this part of this page. It is also possible to copy and paste from a Word document. If you have content that you really want to be able to share with your student in this page format, you can go ahead and copy it from your Word document and paste it in here. I'll give you one caveat on that, though. If you're on a Windows machine using Internet Explorer, do not do that. When you are using Microsoft tools to copy Microsoft content, it ends up bringing all of the XML and Microsoft proprietary code with it, and you would end up with a lot of code interspersed among your text here. And that's a Microsoft issue, not a Canvas issue. But all the other browsers, you won't have that problem. And when we talk about what are the preferred or best browsers to use with Canvas, Canvas really says that, Firefox and Chrome are excellent tools, excellent browsing tools that work very well with the LMS. Safari also. There are issues with Internet Explorer, primarily due to some of its security issues and primarily due to the proprietary nature of Microsoft products. So if you're an IE user, I would just be kind of careful about how you do things like copying and pasting content if it's coming from a Word document. But the construct here is very easy. Again, in the raise a hand if you have a question, please. We do go into great detail in the creating and managing content workshop to talk to you about how you can get content in here, format it, get an image in here, make links to media files, or to create your own media if you want on the fly. So I won't go into all of those processes, but just understand that there are really two ways you can start to think about putting your course space together. If you are very, very structured and don't require a lot of text, a lot of explanatory text to get students into the materials, then modules may be the way to go for you. If you like having a lot of expository text, then pages may be the way to go. Or you may have a mix-mash content there, whether Canvas offers a new way of thinking about it. That's what we like to think, is that Canvas is giving us an opportunity to perhaps rethink a little bit the way that we're putting our content together for our students. So again, I'm going to stop just for a second and see if you have any questions just about these two forms of putting your content together in a Canvas course space. If you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Is there a way to make sure students read each slide of a PowerPoint? Only by giving them a quiz that lets you know that by their answers they have read each slide in a PowerPoint. All we can do within a module is indicate that unless the student clicks on the link to that PowerPoint, they won't have access to the next item in that module. But we still can't force them to actually read whatever it is they've opened. Then once it's opened, it's in the hands of Microsoft PowerPoint and or the PDF reader. Would that be the prereq utilized in modules? It could be. So if you need to have the students do something, you could say you need to look at these PowerPoints, and then you need to take this quiz, and then based on how well you did on the quiz, which would be an indicator as to whether or not you had looked at the PowerPoint slides, then the next item in the module would be released to you. So there is that sort of domino effect that you can make possible within a module. You cannot set up those prereq criterion in a page. So, if that's a way that you want to go, then you're probably going to want to set things up essentially as modules rather than pages. And John, you say, can you track individual student progress? Yeah, there are a couple of places where student analytics can be viewed, and so that is, I will tell you, it is an area that Canvas is continuing to evolve, is their analytics area. But the data that you're getting is, I would say, a bit more useful and a bit more specific than we've been able to get in our version of Blackboard. And beyond that, I haven't done a lot of in-depth looking and playing with the student analytics information. All right, so two forms of getting the content in the student hands in one way or another. But now I'd like to kind of show you a little bit about some of the other places where content can be presented to students and help you understand how a number of the tools and resources in Canvas actually play into one another and enable you to build the course space by starting something with one tool, and it will automatically deploy information out into other tools. So I'm going to first take you to the syllabus tool. Now, the syllabus is a tool in Canvas. There's no saying that you just can't have a file called syllabus that's available on a page, or from a module in the modules area, but the syllabus tool enables you to do some pretty specific and interesting things. The top part of the syllabus tool is a wiki page, and so we can edit this area and copy and paste text in here, maybe from our syllabus if we want to, or we could have a little bit of explanatory text here and then just link in a PDF or a Word formatted version of our syllabus if that's the way you want to do it. One of the nice things about this tool is it gives us access to a toolbar that enables us to do, I think, something that's really, really neat. And this toolbar that you see here, called the Rich Text Toolbar, you will find in syllabus, pages, and even in the assignment creation tool, where we'll have a text box that enables us to provide descriptive narration and a set of tools that enable us to make that narration even richer. And one of the things that we can do with this record upload tool is to provide to our students just a little video or audio vignette on the fly. Now, I'm not going to do one now, but I do have one already in this page that I will show you. I'll be able to show you how it works once we're no longer in edit view. But this top part, highly customizable, can use tools over here to link in files. When it says links here, it enables me to link to other places in the course space. If I go to files, it enables me to link to a file that is in my files area. Highly, highly flexible. The other part of the syllabus is the bottom part. And this bottom part of the syllabus gets created on the fly. It's a chronological list of the assignments and activities that you create either through the assignment or the calendar tool. And so with each assignment or activity that has perhaps a date associated with it and other kinds of criteria, we can get it listed here so that when the students come to syllabus, they can scroll through and see what kinds of assignments and activities are coming up. And in Canvas, we do differentiate between an assignment, which is anything that's going to be graded. So an assignment can be you need to upload a paper in response to a prompt that you're provided, or it can be an in-class submission. We still put it here. Students will just hand in the paper, but in creating the assignment in that way, we'll get a listing for it here in the syllabus and a column for it in the grade book that you'll then be able to populate with a grade. The other option we have, if not a graded assignment, if it's an assignment and ungraded, we call that an activity. And activities could be your prompt that the student should read a certain number of pages from the text within a certain range of dates, or that they should go view a movie in non-print media by a particular date. They're not going to receive a grade for it, but it may be something that we want to make sure gets represented here in the syllabus and then also in the calendar. You'll notice in association with this calendar tool, you see a calendar over here, and wherever there is a darkened date, that lets you know that there's something due on that day. In order to investigate further, a student need not even come into the course space in order to see deadlines for assignments or in order to see upcoming activities. These tools along the top here are global tools that enable you or the students to take a look at your life in Canvas. And if we're talking about calendar, the global calendar enables you to go in and take a look at all of the different courses that you have an association with. And if you want to see the due dates associated with a particular course, you just click on the link associated with that course, and the calendar will be populated with any due dates that are associated with that course, and they'll be color-coded here. From the student perspective, this is very helpful, I think, for time management. I don't know how often students worry about managing their time in a far-off sort of view, but this would enable them to come in and say, gee, I have a heck of a lot of stuff due every Friday in the 2 or 3 classes that I'm associated with. And clicking on any of those items, they would then get the description of how that item was created with the assignment tool in the course it's associated with. So all this said, showing you the relationship between what we can construct inside of a course and how some of that information can be accessed external to the course. At this point, I'm no longer in the webinar course. I am just in the global calendar, and I can look at the specifics about the webinar course if I like. In our Getting Started with Canvas course space, we talk in more detail about the calendar and how the calendar can be used to manage your own personal life, if you like, or actually even to initiate an assignment or an event or activity without going into the course space itself. Now let me go back into the course, and while that's rattling around in your heads, I want to show you one more place where this integration of calendar, syllabus, and assignments come together. Assignments are actually created by going to the assignment link on the navigation menu. And we would call an assignment a kind of content. You probably had a number of assignments in Blackboard. Some of the assignment titles may come over, but you are probably going to need to go in and provide the context for those assignments, set up the criteria such as the grade point or the point value, and establish your due date criteria. But assignments, we can create an assignment, we can create assignment groups, and this, we only really worry about groups. If you are into weighted grading, you're going to need to set up different kinds of categories for your assignments so that you can come up with different weightings for the different items in each category. But in this case, if I have an assignment, I can go ahead here. I'll just show you what an assignment looks like. Within an assignment, this is just saying I didn't provide a description. The students would simply upload some information to me, and I would be able to retrieve it from the grade book. But each assignment, if we take a look and we actually add an assignment, when you create an assignment, you can provide all the criteria for it as well as type your instructions for performing that assignment. And here's where I wanted to show you that assignment can be something they'll submit to you online, something they'll submit in paper external to Canvas, or if it says no submission and no grade, then it's assumed to be an activity. And so this is another form of content that we may be making available to our students. And we can either send the students just to this assignment page, or we can link to these assignments from a module or from a page. The recommendation would be that if you are linking to assignments you have created from a module or a page, that you then hide the assignment links here from your students. We're not going to go into how we would manage this menu, but it is possible to hide a number of these items from your students. You want to give the students as clear a track through your course as possible. And so in determining which content management mechanism you're going to use, modules or pages, you may be able to reduce the other links that we have on this navigation. That before we sort of finish up with talking about the layout of the home page. Does anyone have a question on that interrelationship between the syllabus, assignments, the calendar, and the gradebook? All right, then let me go ahead and show you one more area where we can pull all of our content together or make certain kinds of content available to the students, and that is the home page. So let me go ahead and lock talk again so I can make use of my cursor. Oh, wait a minute, we do have a question from Jennifer. Jennifer, does the syllabus need to be recreated in Canvas each semester? No, if you have created a syllabus by putting content in that wiki page area and you do an import course from one course to a new course space, all of that content will go with it. You'll probably need to go to each assignment and adjust the due dates, but then that will adjust the information that you would see in the lower half of the syllabus, and it would still remain equally useful. Does that answer your question? Okay, let me go to the home page here. All right, the home page offers some great flexibility in how you get the students engaged with the course. There are a couple of different options that you will have. When you first go into your blank course space, the default course homepage is what we call the course stream. And even that will be blank to begin with, but the course stream is a representation of the different ways that you're communicating with students. So copies or links to announcements that you make might be represented here. If you have posted a new assignment or quiz, there will be a prompt about the fact that it's new. There's something new here in this recent activity communication stream area. So it's close to, but not quite, the same as the assignment tool in Blackboard, which was the default homepage there, where we could create a new announcement to students and make it available to them. There is an announcement tool in Canvas. You can create an announcement, and if you do, the announcement will appear here. But if this is not the means you're planning to use for your course homepage, but you do plan to use announcements to communicate with your students, then you would want to make this announcements link available to the students, and they should just come in and check it every now and then. In addition, announcements are one of the communication items in Canvas that you can push out to your students. They can set up in their notification preferences where they want to get a copy of your announcement and with what frequency. And so we may not need to worry so much about making this a default homepage. There are other ways that this information can be pushed out to your students. So other options that you have for your homepage layout would be course modules and sections. So if I'm using modules, and it's really important to me when the students enter the course space that they get right here, this could become my course homepage. And the students immediately have access to all of the files and assignments and quizzes in the order in which they're going to need to traipse through it right here, in which case I probably wouldn't need to make very many links to tools or other areas of the course space available over here in the navigation menu. I wouldn't really connect necessarily to content kinds of things at all. I might just make available to the students, grades, and perhaps the conference tool and that sort of thing. That's one option. Personally, I don't think it's very pretty or very interesting when I come into the course to see this, but it's an option. Another option that you have is just showing to the students the assignment list, in which case they're going to see just that bottom part of the syllabus. And it just lets them know here's what's coming up. The undated assignments are actually some of those things that may not be, they don't have a due date associated with them, but they're just hanging out there. And all of these are links to the actual assignment so that the students can go and explore it further. Again, if you have completely managed and organized your course space before you publish your course, making it available to your students, if this is the first thing they see when they come into the course space and there's 3 screens worth of links to scroll through, it could be a little daunting, I think. I think maybe revealing how much work there is going to be in a course a little bit at a time may be a better way of getting the students into the course and feeling comfortable there. But that is yet another way that we can manage our homepage. And if you chose, you could also go with just the syllabus and assignment list as your homepage. And then you would not reveal syllabus over here on the course menu because this then becomes your homepage. The way I've seen a number of faculty going with at least our pilot faculty, the majority of them have been choosing a page I'll design myself option for their homepage. And what this is a wiki page that can be used to integrate images and links and text and even little media files. And some of the more effective ones, I just did this one today, so I did it rather in a hurry, and it's not as complete as I would normally like. But I'm able to put in a little sound file here where I can welcome my students to the course. Okay, and that would be available to the students when they come on into the course space. And if there's a specific set of instructions that you want to provide them, you can go ahead and provide a little Start Here link and link them either to another page or to a file from your Files area. And if you want to manage how they're going to go through your content from your home page rather than from the menu over to the left, you can actually set up your own menu or navigation stream here and pretty much hide just about everything over in the Canvas navigation menu. What I've seen some faculty doing, because one thing, as a matter of full disclosure, that is quite different from Blackboard, is that the names of these items on the navigation menu cannot be changed. So if you don't like calling your assignments and you prefer calling them homework, you're not going to be able to change what it says here. And so you may want to come up with something on a course homepage called homework that links to the Canvas area called assignments, but then you get your own way of being able to identify navigation. Just one option that you have available to you. So we're finding that there's an opportunity to explore different ways of putting content together and drawing students into the course space by mix matching content that you have in your files area, images that you may or may not have in the files area. You can upload images from your desktop. When we are working in any of these areas where we have access to the rich text editor, if we go to try to put an image in, we also have access to the Creative Commons gallery of copyright-free images. So if you really like to integrate more images into your course space, but you just don't have any, and you don't want to go Google Images and take something off the web that may or may not be copyright-free, this will give you access to, a modestly sized gallery of copyright-free images that you could then integrate into your course space. And that's where I actually got this image, which I thought was pretty clever with all the different kinds of technologies represented there. So those are the ways that we can start working with the content that has come to us from Blackboard, been migrated into our files area. You're going to start with a blank canvas other than the content in files. And if you had quizzes in Blackboard, they'll be in your quizzes area. You're going to link them back into the course space. But a couple different ways of starting to think about how you might be able to put your course back together, making the content available to your students. So with that, I'd like to open this up for questions or concerns that you might have. That you are aware that we do have a pretty rigorous training schedule underway. And I will point out some of the other support avenues that we'll have for you between now and, I would say, until Canvas starts to feel old hat, like next September or October. So, John, you asked, you're not clear about how quizzes are migrated into Canvas. The quizzes came over unless you were using question pools in Blackboard. And those would have been, the large pools of questions, and then you would bring blocks of questions in for each question in a Blackboard quiz. If they were just straight quizzes in Blackboard, those quizzes were brought into your term-based course space in Canvas. I would go in and check all of the questions. There are a couple of question types from Blackboard that are not available in Canvas. For instance, Canvas does not have a question type that allows you to upload a file as a response yet. It's an enhancement request. We'll see how that comes along. But, the questions will be there, and then you will simply make the quiz available to your students by creating an assignment of the type quiz and pointing to the specific quiz that has been migrated over from Blackboard. And Olga, you say, can we make sure a student completes one module before moving on to another? Yeah, that can be done with modules with some of the selective release criteria. And I think I missed a few questions that went by, so let me just scroll up and make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, Robin, you said you want to make sure you understand that you need to rebuild in your old course space and then import to 2013. If you want to make use of the files in your 2012 course space, you have two options because that's where your content is. If you don't want to rebuild space, but just want to build in 2013, then you would want to go to your 2013 course space and import the 2012 space, and that will simply really be importing the files into the files area for the 2013 space, but both are empty to begin with. So where you think is going to be best to start to build is up to you. We simply needed to, because we were bringing over a couple of semesters worth of content for you, we needed to put it into unique course spaces in Canvas, and then you can start to move content. The other thing that you could do really, if the content in your 2012 space, you have the ability to select all the files there and download them as a zip file. and then you can go into your 2013 files area and import the zip file, and that would be another way of just moving the files from one place to another. But if you have quizzes, you would need to do the import course function, and we can certainly help you with that. We are creating additional training on that. We have information on it in our Getting Started in Canvas workshop materials. Okay, I think we're all caught up with the chat questions. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my desktop because I have one more slide that I want to share with you. And this is just to make sure as you're going forward, because I do know it's a tight turnaround, and we're all feeling that pinch. But you know, for now until the 1st of January, if you have Canvas-related questions, you can email us at nextgenelms@umd.edu. Starting on January 1st, email to elms@umd.edu will be considered to be Canvas-related conversation. Because at that point, Canvas will be the primarily supported learning management system. Students will no longer have access to Blackboard. You will have access to your Blackboard course spaces to go back and collect any content that doesn't come over, like those item descriptions and such, until the 30th of June. We are posting news at the ELMS blog, but now we also have, the login page for Canvas at ng.elms.umd.edu also has instructor resources and help information that may be able to help supplement full instructor-led workshops. And that content is growing by the day. All right, so Robin, do we manage library reserves via Canvas? Yes, you will. The Course Reserves tool has been tested and is working in Canvas. We are waiting for the Course Reserves documentation so that we can also make that available. But it is going to be pretty easy to go ahead and integrate access to Course Reserves and share stream. You'll still work with your subject matter librarian to get your materials on reserve, and then access to the reserves will be through your Canvas course space. Well, I thank you for spending this hour with us, and there is much more to learn about Canvas, I am sure. And now that rather than 70 faculty, we'll have about 2,000 of you out there making use of it over the coming months. We'll all be digging in a little more deeply together, and do contact us at nextgenelms@umd.edu if you have any questions. One other item, we do have drop-in hours at McKeldin Library now on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. in room 2113. That's on the Turpin Learning Commons floor. And so if you just have something quick you want to check up on, we're there to help. Obviously, you can continue to request some one-on-one consultation if getting to a training session doesn't work for you. And again, do check the resources that we are making available under the Instructor Resources link at the ng.elms.umd.edu website in order to help. Adding a TAs, as was true in Blackboard, TAs will be enrolled in Canvas course spaces based upon the role they have in UMEG. And so once they're in UMEG, they will be enrolled in the Canvas course space. Student enrollments will also come from UMEG, as will instructor enrollments. And there is a role called designer. There are several other roles in Canvas that we are going to be able to populate. We are finalizing the development of a tool external to Canvas that will enable you to request a designer, which is a course builder or a signer or a reader, some of these, an observer, some of these specialized roles that will not come in from UMEG, that tool will be ready to go by the 15th of December. It's being tested at this point. And I hope you'll have some fun with Canvas. We've been enjoying getting to know it.